Shabbat Shalom, Bethel. I want to share a piece of Torah that when I learned this week filled me with a sense of hope. It gave me the feeling that there are things that we could do to offer a little bit of kindness back to the world. A world that we know is in such desperate need of more kindness. Because I'm not going to lie to you, this has been a particularly challenging week. Not just for me as a rabbi, or for the clergy team, or for all of the Jewish communal professionals around the country who spend our lives and countless hours working in Jewish communal spaces. But I imagine that this has been a challenging week for much of the Jewish world. Because in the wake of the hostage crisis situation that took place last Shabbat in Colleyville, Texas, at Congregation Beth Israel, in which Rabbi Charlie Citrin Walker and a few of his congregants were taken hostage by a gunman, I imagine that this has been a week in which we've thought a lot about our safety. And not just our own safety, but the safety of our children and our grandchildren and our friends and all the people in our lives with whom we love to gather and rejoice in our sacred communal spaces. And so I offer this piece of Torah as a way of thinking about the gratitude that we can express in this world and the goodness that is around us, because it's always important, I think, in moments like these to remind ourselves that this world can be good. In Parashat Yitro, the Israelites have finally made their way out of Egypt. They've finally made their way into freedom, escaping the oppression of the Egyptians. And in their very first act of freedom, after having received the Torah at Mount Sinai, our leader Moshe runs to his father-in-law Yitro, a Midianite, a member of a community that is distinct and different from the Israelite nation. And he tells him about all of the things that befell the Israelites in Egypt. He tells him about the miracles, about the splitting of the sea, about the plagues, about how God destroyed the army of the Egyptians so that they could no longer be a threat to the Israelites. And he tells them about Revelation. And when Yitro hears this news, he rejoices. The Torah tells us, "Vayichad Yitro al kol hatova asher asa Adonai leYisrael asher hitzilu miyad Mitzrayim." That Jethro rejoiced in all of the goodness that God had brought upon the Israelites, saving them from the hands of the Egyptians. And what the Sforno teaches us about this rejoicing is that this rejoicing was about goodness. We could have thought that what Jethro was really rejoicing over was the fact that the Egyptians had drowned in the sea, that this wicked people were no longer a threat to the Israelites. But the Sforno makes it clear that that's not what Jethro is rejoicing over. Jethro is rejoicing over all of the good things that happened to Israel, the manna, the miracles, the receiving of the Torah. These beacons of light that God extended to the Israelites are things worthy of rejoicing. Here we have a Midianite who hears about all of the successes and goodnesses that happened to a people not his own, and he praises God for that goodness. Just imagine a world where instead of being suspicious or jealous or resentful of the goodnesses that befall other people who are not our own, instead, when we hear that news of people's successes, we rejoiced alongside of them. This week, I've heard an outpouring of love and support from a lot of my friends from growing up, times in my life where I didn't spend so much time in Jewish communal spaces. Friends who are not part of our community, but nonetheless sent me text messages and emails reminding me that they're with me, reminding me that they're thinking of me, reminding me that they want to rejoice in all of the goodness and successes that befall our people. That is such a beautiful way to be in the world, because bad things are going to happen. They're unavoidable. But what we learn from the Parsha is that it is our responsibility not to focus on the wicked, not to focus on the bad or the evil, but to rejoice in all of the goodness and blessings that can be found all around us. In a week where we think a lot about safety, it can be hard to remind ourselves that this world can also be really good. That's a message that I'm going to cling to this week. It's the message that I offer for you as well. Shabbat Shalom.